Imagine if you could take the entire team that made Planet Earth, put them in a time machine, take them back to the time when dinosaurs ruled the world and make a wildlife film. That's what I wanted Prehistoric to feel like. What it is here is the one thing that I could never do on a TV show, which is feel and see and experience how enormous they are, how powerful they are, how awesome they are. The TV series, of course, is a documentary. The TV is directing you to look at this one screen. When you come here, you've got screens all around you. So how do you take the heart of a TV documentary, pull those elements out to bring it into a space like this? And that's been a year-long journey to do that. 407-417.
Making a show in Lightroom is completely different to making a TV show. Even though we're basing it on some of the material and some of the amazing stories from that TV show, translating them into a space in which you've got picture all around you and this immersive sound, and you can move around the space freely, completely changes what you can do and what the experience is like. So when we're making a show for a space like this, we can choose different moments, some of which are much more filmic and cinematic, and others which are more interactive and more like a gallery space where you can go and stand right next to these amazing life-size dinosaurs. The show really is about the wonder of nature and just how extraordinary it is that by finding clues, by finding fossils, by studying the way in which different creatures are related to each other, we can learn about the world of the Cretaceous, 60, 70 million years ago, and then use all of this knowledge to build a picture and actually transport audiences back in time to the time of the dinosaurs. Does that look plausible in terms of a sort of sauropod?
In terms of where they've been found?
Yeah.
It's pretty good, yeah.
So it's a real pleasure getting to work with the team that put together Prehistoric Planet Discovering Dinosaurs. It's my job to look at the script, to look at the animations that are being put together, to look at the pictures and the labelling, and through this continual process, we end up with something that is about as accurate as it can be.
So that is an AI monster, do not use, yeah.
We now know that dinosaurs were really interesting, fascinating, often quite strange looking animals. They might have used bright colours, bold patterns. People are quite surprised to find out that many of these animals had feathers. Also, we have to keep in mind it's not a trivial point that many extinct dinosaurs were really big animals, surprisingly big, and you want every opportunity you can get to appreciate them at life size.
What we can do here in Lightroom is bring most of these dinosaurs inside and project them life-size so you can stand right underneath them and see how big they really were. And I say most because there's some dinosaurs we have which are still too big to be able to fit into our space, and they have to duck their heads down.
This project gave us such a good opportunity to do big dinosaurs at scale, and I think that that's the most fun thing about this project for me personally. So when we're designing these creatures and we're kind of putting together what is essentially a creature that no longer exists, it's very tricky for us to know how they might have moved or how exactly their body mechanics worked. And so for us, we have to look around at large-scale creatures in the real world, such as your elephants or rhinos or hippos, big, heavy creatures that walk with a certain heft and a certain manner. So for example, when we were looking at the Edmontosaurus, one of the creatures that we would reference is a rhinoceros. Anyone from the Framestore team that's been there and stood in the Lightroom gets this kind of really like silly grin on their faces, and everyone just stands back and goes, oh my gosh, that's amazing. The scale of it and the sense of how big these dinosaurs actually were, like I don't think we've really had an experience where you can go and see that.
Adapting a TV show for Lightroom has been quite a challenge. The shots are quite short, but it's made us get super creative on how we adapt it for the space. The sequences from the TV show that we've chosen have largely led the way in how we have approached that adaptation.
So a sequence I worked on is the velociraptors hunting the pterosaurs on the canyon. I wanted the creatures to both exist in the space at the same time and for the action to be followed around the room. So as the Velociraptor is hunting the pterosaurs, you're seeing the Velociraptor move around you, giving the audience a bit more of an immersive experience.
We've stabilized a lot of those shots, so instead of the creatures moving through the frame of the video moves across the walls of Lightroom as they move across the cliffs.
Anticipating or guessing where audience is going to look and then where they're going to look next is extremely important when designing for the 360 room, because you don't want them to miss on anything important narratively, but at the same time you do still want them to have fun and get the most out of the show.
One of the things that experts are often asked about is, what did these extinct animals sound like? We do think that as big animals that were highly communicative, we think they were noisy, we think they could make loud, big sounds. These would have been sounds more similar to those of crocodilians and birds than like those of mammals. So you should expect crocodile-like roars and growls and rumbles, and also bird-like trills and squawks and shrieks from at least some dinosaurs.
The original score for Prehistoric Planet, the show, is composed by Hans Zimmer, Andrzej Rozman, and Kara Talvi. We had a lot of special instruments made for the original score. You know, we had what we call the triceratone, which is like a cello made with a triceratops skull. We have this big drum head played with a bow called the Fat Rex, and that was something that Hans really felt was another world, but it's still connected to us in some ways. Listening to the music in this space, it allows you to think about your music kind of in a three-dimensional way, where anything can come from any direction, and it's almost that feeling of being plopped inside the orchestra. The possibilities that come out of that musically are kind of endless.
You find out when you talk about dinosaurs that everyone is interested in them, whether you're 10 or 30 or 60. Children of all ages should get something out of it.
Well, every one of the shows we've made here in Lightroom is such a completely different subject matter, which has meant a completely different creative approach. So it really opens up the possibility of what we can do in the space. We could do anything here.
What Lightroom does is something that no other medium can do, which is put you in the world of those dinosaurs, and they are life-size. If you're a filmmaker, you're always thinking about what are the other perspectives you can bring to the stories you want to tell. But this place is a new portal to explore nature and planet Earth.